All right, so this is podcast Brother Atheist.
Yep.
Wow, fuck. So we're brothers and we're atheists, but we call the Brother Atheist kind of as a play on the Catholic Brotherhood, the monks and stuff. We both grew up fundamentalist Christian, and we are now atheists. So welcome to Brother Atheist.
Welcome. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, so we're going to start off by just kind of giving a quick background on ourselves today. We're going to focus on how we went from being fundamentalist Christian to hardcore atheists.
Hardcore atheists. Okay.
Yeah, I say that
I like
because,
that.
you know, we're
Pretty vocal about it.
not your grandma's atheist.
Oh, yeah.
You
Fair
know
enough.
what I mean? We're a little more vocal about it. We're a little more confrontational about it with some people.
Mm-hmm.
We both believe, I think, pretty strongly that religion is dangerous.
Yeah.
For society as a whole. And so without getting too deep into those things, we'll get into those another time. We're just going to kind of tell you a little bit about our backstory, about how we went from being fundamentalist Christians to atheists.
Right. Yeah.
Sure. So you go ahead and start.
Sure. Well, my name's Thaddeus. This is Matthias. The only reason I say that is because our father's a pastor, and we have biblical names.
Very biblical names, yeah.
So does our brother.
Yeah.
So we grew up in the church. We went to church every Sunday for a very long time. I think when I got into high school, we were allowed to kind of choose. It was, definitely pushed that we should go. One of the main things for me, I think, was being a good Christian, good old true Scotsman. Make sure you're a good Christian and you're following, God's law and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So
you wouldn't want to make other Christians look bad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't do that on their own.
Well, Dad used to say that all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, let them.
Hi.
Fuck. He did say. Didn't he say that?
Yeah, I used to say all the time that, like Christians make themselves look bad enough. You don't need more Christians making Christians look bad.
Yeah.
So
in high school, trying to justify, doing the things that my friends did and everyone was peer pressuring me into doing. I was trying to be a good Christian, but also have fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I stopped calling myself a Christian when I was around 18, when I graduated and just, stopped going to church altogether. And that's where it started for me. So.
Yeah, I totally get that. So for me, it was actually very, very different. I went through my entire high school time being a very fundamentalist Christian with plans of becoming a minister. About the time I turned 14 or 15, I quit asking for presents for Christmas, at least like big toys and things. I quit asking for really toys and started asking for theological books. So every year I'd get a new theological book to start my pastoral library. I thought it was very cool. My dad had this big pastoral library all full of Christian books. Actually, he left some here. So I'll just show one of them off. He let me borrow this one recently so that we could discuss evolution. Anyway, we'll get back to that another day. But basically, he had this big library, and I was really impressed with it. I was like, I want those books. I want to have a good understanding of Christianity. So I really dug deep. And I looked into Christianity for a long time, and I was really sold by it. But one thing always bothered me was Old Testament God, and no Christian that I talked to ever had a good explanation for why God did the things he did in the Old Testament. So for me, I started looking into what defines good, and that was my big split from Christianity. I hadn't gone to church in a while, but I always promised myself I'd go back, and eventually I just got to the point where I had been looking into the ethical side of morality and good versus evil on the secular side, and eventually ran into Sam Harris and The Moral Landscape, as well as a few others. Once you hit Sam Harris, you hit Daniel Dennett and Richard Dawkins and Christopher Hitchens, and I started watching their stuff about the moral argument for God, and that's when everything kind of crumbled for me, and I was like, I have to accept it. I am an atheist.
Yeah, no. After I, wasn't a Christian for a long time, I didn't call myself an atheist. I didn't really understand it. Eventually, I got a new job, started talking with Joe, who we want to invite on the show at some point.
Sure, yeah.
About evolution and why I thought it was wrong and didn't make sense, and was improbable, because that's what our dad says. It's just impossible,
Yeah,
too many
probability is too improbable, right?
Right.
It's
It's a fallacy, I believe.
yeah, well, we'll get into that another
Anyway,
time for
yeah.
sure. Yeah, absolutely. Richard Dawkins totally wipes the floor with that. So does Jerry Coyne. What's up, bud? Do you like it hot? Because it's hot in here, bud.
Yeah, we're recording, buddy. You got to get out of here. We'll be done soon. Sorry. Love you. See you in a bit.
10 minutes, bud.
Close the door, please.
It's fine. I got it. You got it?
Thank you.
He's got it. Cool.
So, I'll just start.
Yeah.
From anyway, I got a new job and started talking to somebody about evolution and why I thought it was silly and didn't make sense. Basically, repeating the same thing our dad had told us. It was improbable, etc. Of course, we'll go into that a different time.
Yeah.
But when I started to accept science for what it was and kind of understand how it worked, because through school, I always argued for creation and
kind
for
of ignored
God. Just ignored everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too.
The one thing our dad did tell us that was good is he told us to question everything, which kind of bit him in the butt, I think. And also learn the other side so that you can argue against it better, which also kind of bit him in the butt, I think. But
For sure. In the end, yeah. I mean, if his goal was to make us good Christian kids, then yeah, he bit him right in the ass, like, hard. So
yeah.
Yeah, I had a similar dealing with evolution where when I first came to the conclusion that I just couldn't believe in the God of the Bible because he just wasn't good, I had to decide where I would go from there. And I'd been taught my whole life that evolution was a bunch of bullshit, and I needed to know for myself, like, what is the truth. And so that was actually the time when I was watching a lot of videos from, like, the Cosmic Skeptic online, as well as the Rationality Rules.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, and a few others. There's another one, Something Skeptic. It doesn't matter. Okay.
Cosmic Skeptic.
There's the Cosmic Skeptic, and then there's someone else. But
well, it's funny. You were kind of on the philosophical side. Some of the more logical reasoning. And I kind of came more
from
to the
science.
atheist side, from science side,
Right.
like The Amazing Atheist,
Right.
stuff like that, The Living Dinosaur,
And you
people
also
like that.
discovered people like Richard Dawkins before I did. And so for me, most of my reason for leaving the church and Christianity as a whole was just because I couldn't justify goodness with God, because God just isn't good. And I can show that 100 different ways, and we'll get into that another time. I'm not here to defend my atheism. I'm just here to say that, like, I am an atheist, and I have reasons for being an atheist. And it's just basically what comes down to, I guess, for me, was I looked at it from philosophy and said that. And then I said, well, I don't have anything else. Like, I don't know anything now. Everything I was taught is obviously a lie. And I can't accept it anymore, so I need to find out the alternative, right?
Right.
And so that's when I got myself a library card, and I went down to my public library, and I rented the book Why Evolution is True by Jerry Coyne. And oh my gosh, did it literally change my life. Totally changed my life. Totally changed my perspective on evolution. And you had already come to accept evolution at this point, so you had already been into that. But for me, it was the first time that I really got a good understanding of what evolution was, and how it works. And not only does it make sense, like, intuitively, but he presented so much solid evidence for evolution. And it came to this place where I was just like, I can't refute that I'm an atheist anymore. Before, I was kind of trying to play the agnostic, you know what I mean? But as you will learn if you spend any amount of time watching our podcast or our discussions, we are very particular about how we use the words agnostic and atheist. I'm an agnostic atheist. I don't know if we're ready to jump to this yet, but
That's fine.
I'm an agnostic atheist because I don't know that God exists. But the atheist part is I don't believe God exists, because theism is a belief. Atheism or theism is belief. Gnostic is knowing. So agnostic or Gnostic. And you are...
I'm a Gnostic atheist. I claim to know there is no God. I think your stance is a bit stronger, but I think just we shouldn't get into this now, but the lack of evidence brings me to believe that I could claim that there is no God simply because there's no evidence. So that's why I have that stance instead.
recently in a Facebook discussion with someone. It was a polite discussion, as hard as that might be to believe about Facebook. But in a recent Facebook discussion, I asserted that philosophically there is no God, and I think I can make that claim. I don't know if I can say scientifically there is no God, but I absolutely can say philosophically there is no God. The rule of non-contradiction basically just eliminates God to start. God's very nature, the biblical God's very nature is contradictory. So to argue that there is no God scientifically is a little more difficult, and that's why I leave that to you if you want to make that argument.
At some point, I'm sure.
Yeah, by all means, you can make that argument. But philosophically, I can stand on firm ground and say God isn't real, and if he was, he's evil, and if he's evil, he's not. He doesn't deserve my worship. Right. So if he's real, I don't care.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
If he is real, I want to be as far away from him as possible. I definitely don't like what he stands for. So
absolutely. I think we've both ran into a lot of people who bring up different arguments. Pascal's wager is a big one. I'm sure you've heard from people, and the moral argument. And I just I want to put out there right off the bat, like, we know we are atheists, and we're not in denial, and we're not angry at God.
Certainly not.
Yeah, it's
Can't
hard.
be angry at something that doesn't
exist. Absolutely. And I was going to say the same thing. But we get that a lot. Oh, you're just angry at God, or it's just a phase. You'll get over it. Like, God, God, if you just open up your heart, if you weren't so hard against God. It's not about him because he doesn't exist. It's about the Bible, really. I think more than anything else. Is it not?
I think the biggest issue I have with Christianity is the Bible.
Absolutely.
If the Bible was written differently, I feel like I wouldn't have as much ground to stand on as far as being against Christianity.
Yeah,
but since it exists, and it's where the basis of their belief is. It's kind of hard to.
If there was an all-powerful, all-knowing, all-good God, I would really hope that he would just tell his people not to have slaves from the get. Like, I agree. He knows everything, and he's all good. I can't get past that. I will never get past that. So, in that way, I guess I agree with Matt Dillahunty a lot, even though I disagree with his arguing tactic almost always. But anyway,
sure.
I think that wraps up our experiences pretty good. Yeah, is there anything else you want to say about your experience and how you became a...
Well, looking at the Bible, like you said, the whole morality thing, I didn't look into the philosophical
That's
stuff.
why I'm here.
And yeah, exactly. Until you kind of brought it up earlier, or probably last year. We started talking about it again, which kind of renewed my
excitement.
My excitement in learning things.
Yeah.
I think that covers it. I mean, we both come from a similar place as far as becoming atheists. I started with the science, you started with the philosophy.
Sure.
And now we just kind of bring it together, and now we want to talk about it and
debate
absolutely. People.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do with this podcast going forward, just to give everyone a quick heads up, in case we didn't go over this well at the beginning, we're gonna bring on guests to talk about different issues. We're also gonna do some reviews on Christian movies.
Sure.
And I would say we do atheist movie reviews, but there are no atheist movies. There are movies made without God in them,
sure.
But they're not atheist propaganda. So we're gonna aim ourselves at propaganda. I don't know of any atheist propaganda movies anyway. Do you? I think there's one documentary about God not existing. Maybe
there's a couple.
Then we're gonna scratch this segment.
Well, Bill Maher.
Start over.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because I don't want to talk about that.
Okay.
I don't want to go into atheist documentary or atheist movies.
Well, Bill Maher did a movie that was really good. I can't remember what it's called, but
are we gonna have to watch it and review it? Are we gonna do that?
I don't.
If we are, we can include that part in the segment. But
yes, we could. I mean, I don't remember watching the whole thing, but I think I've seen pieces of it. Anyway, it's pretty good. But,
so, all right. So I'm gonna cut back to where this is going.
Sure.
All right. And feel free to jump in and interrupt me if you need to.
No, I'm trying not to interrupt you, but yeah, go ahead.
This is a conversation. You're allowed to interrupt. So.
Yeah.
So anyway, where we want to take this in the future is we want to invite some people on to discuss different topics with us. We're both fairly opinionated in our respective areas. And then maybe do some Christian movie reviews. Is that...
Yeah, movie reviews on, lots of things, not necessarily always Christian. I mean,
Okay,
Flat Earth
sure.
could be fun at some point. You never know.
Yeah.
Someone
we
might
could
ask for
attempt
that.
Yep, that could be interesting. Yeah.
I think Flat Earth is very interesting. Anti-vax, we'll probably talk about at some
yeah.
point.
Yeah, we're gonna hit all of the hot button issues.
We'll argue about abortion.
Abortion's coming. Yeah, that's in the near future. We're gonna have a discussion with me and Thaddeus's friend Joe on abortion.
That'll be interesting.
Because I'm though I'm atheist, I'm very pro-life.
I'm pro-choice.
Pro-choice.
I think I have a
This is
good
a place we
justification
disagree.
now. It took me a while, but I think I have a good one.
And I definitely think there is, unfortunately, it's a very difficult thing to discuss or argue rather or debate.
Sure.
But it'll be interesting to see how that one turns out. See if I can change anyone's mind here.
You might change mine. Where I've been on the fence for a while.
I know you flip flop quite a bit. I mean, every
Yeah.
once in a while, I feel like every time I have a conversation with you about abortion, you're like, I could see the pro life side, and then the next time I talk to you, you're like, I'm firmly pro choice, and the next time it's like, so it's like it kind of goes back and forth with you for sure. That's why I'm not debating you.
Sure. No, it's a tough one for me because I know we value. Well, we might
We both
value,
have kids,
Yeah,
so that makes it extra hard for anyone. Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
And probably shouldn't say this on the internet, so you might need to cut it. But
So
we
will.
discussed abortion when I knocked up Sammy, and before we had Rory, we had discussed the option. I think unfortunately I brought it up, which I regret. But I'm very glad we didn't have one, and I personally would never want to have my child aborted. But,
absolutely.
now we're already talking about abortion.
I think it's safe to say at least that everyone who gets pregnant, the thought crosses their mind because it's an option.
Well, yeah, if it wasn't an option, which I'm sure we'll get into that when we start talking about abortion.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm trying to take the option away from anybody so much as maybe eliminate some of the other problems, what the reasons for abortion in the first place.
Right.
I'll take that cue from our dad.
Well, we'll have to talk about morality at some point too, because I think my morality is a little bit different than yours, which allows me to flip-flop on
Well,
on
since
abortion.
morality is subjective, it's very hard to argue.
Right. Well, maybe
Enjoy that, by the way, internet. I already have one negative comment on my morality video on my own page, and so fuck you to that guy who doesn't understand how morality works.
What do you say?
I don't remember, but we should
do comment reviews.
We should do
too?
we should do a response video. Yeah, absolutely. But I think we're also going to do a couple response videos to some of the other major atheists on YouTube, because there's sometimes I see things from atheists that really make me frustrated to call myself an atheist.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I think this wraps it up fairly well. I know we ranted a little bit at the end here.
Sure. Well, who knows? Maybe we'll come up with a Facebook page and we'll host debates for all the people at some point, and then then we can react to the conversations too. I mean, Philip DeFranco does a great job.
He does
having conversations with his viewers. Maybe someday we'll get there. That'd be cool.
Yeah, be awesome. But anyway, this is just like a first look at who we are and what we're doing and what we're looking forward to do with this in the future. So yeah, if you're interested, you like what we're doing, then subscribe, like, comment. You know the drill.
Oh, already plugging. Good.
Yeah, gotta plug. I mean, if I don't, what the hell?
What's the point?
Yeah,
right?
exactly. I'm not doing this for my fucking fun here.
Well, maybe we'll get a Patreon going too, then, huh?
Oh my God.
That's all the atheists do. They all have Patreons.
Yeah, we gotta
need
get
one.
there. I guess we gotta do that. All right. So eventually, maybe someday.
Well, thanks for watching. If you guys want to see some more, like, subscribe, comment below, as you said.
Yeah.
And we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Thanks.
Enjoy the ride.
Thanks for watching. Bye.
I don't
Was
know.
I recording that? The whole thing? Yeah. Okay.